everyone, this is Trisha and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how I created this tabletop carved pumpkin floral arrangement. Alright, so first I'm going to tell you the supplies that I'm going to be using. Of course, I have a pumpkin here. It is a carvable pumpkin, and I got this from Michael's. You can find them at Walmart, you can find them at Hobby Lobby, any other craft store, or even look on Amazon for them. I have some styrofoam that I'm going to be using. I've got some nice flowers here and some greenery. These are pretty much sort of what I have been using to make all my other arrangements. So it's some leftover of some fern with some beautiful fall colors, a little bit of this cream colored little flowers. I'm not really sure what they are, but they're really pretty. And then I've got some sunflowers. This is also some that I used some other flowers from this bush, but I have these left over and I'm going to use them for my arrangement. I've got some Spanish moss. I'm going to use a little bit of that. I'm contemplating whether I'm going to be using this rope here. So I have that here. This is a nautical rope. I got this from the Dollar Tree. By the way, these floral bushes and the greenery and the moss, they're all from Hobby Lobby. But of course you can find them at any floral craft store. Okay, so I've also got some fall ribbon. I also got this particular one from Hobby Lobby. I did get this last year, so this is a leftover roll. I've got still quite a bit of it in there, but I'm just going to use a little bit of it, and I've been using a lot of it for other arrangements. Okay, so I also have these little gourds, little pumpkins that I want to put into my actual big pumpkin. So I'll put those there, and I'm going to be using some little supplies, some little tools. So first of all, I need a chenille stem or some floral wire to tie up my ribbon if I want to make a little bow, so I have that. I also have these little wood picks, and I'm going to be using these to prop up like the little pumpkins and little bow into my styrofoam. I've got these greenery pins, or they're also called U-pins. Be using that. For my tools, I've got a little knife here, my wire cutters right here, scissors, and my glue, my hot glue with some hot glue sticks. All right, everyone, so let's get to crafting. Okay, so I'm going to begin by carving into my pumpkin. It's going to be super easy. All I'm going to do is carve up the top part up here so I can create like a lid, and I want to do it at an angle like that. So I'm just going to slowly poke it in there and just work my way around until I've got a nice cutout. Now we can pop this off. As you can see, it is hollow. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the styrofoam piece that I had down here, and what I want to do is I want to cut this where I can put it in there and be tall enough where it just right underneath the height of the pumpkin. Okay, so we're just going to get that. Now this type of styrofoam, I don't really like it because it is so messy when it is cut. It is great because it's free. It came in some packaging, so I am recycling it, but it is very messy. These little bits go all over the place. As a matter of fact, these little bits that it sheds, very easy, like that. These are great to create a little snow effect. And if you look at a lot of the little snows that you purchase and little packages, that's basically what it is. It's little bits of styrofoam. So just to let you know that. Okay, this is going to be a mess, so forgive my mess, but I'm trying to recycle things that I have. So all I'm doing right here is I'm looking at the height, and I just kind of pinched it right here on the side, little bit there, just to let me know that that's my marking, about as high as I want it to go. Okay, so that part's off, and that's a good height because obviously it's going to lift a little bit once it's inside of there. So because my pumpkin rounds down at the bottom, I'm going to round a little bit off the sides, just the corners. Okay, so I have been carving and carving bits off of this piece to get it to be about the size to go in there, and I feel like right now it's at a size where I can just kind of like push it in, and it'll just kind of just squeeze itself in there, so it'll be okay. So that's all you want to do is just cut your styrofoam, and hopefully you're not using a nasty, messy one like I am. But as you can see, I'm just, again, I'm recycling. So now I have a big old mess, and I'm going to clean that up, and I shall be back so we can go ahead and pour some glue in there and push that styrofoam in there. Okay, so now I'm going to pour some glue. Let me get that bits of styrofoam in there out. Okay, pour some glue in there so it gets at the bottom. Also, if you feel like your pumpkin, all this is a little too lightweight, just pushing it in and arranging it so that it's the angle that I want it. There we go. In there. I also wanted to add that if you feel like your pumpkin is a little bit too light, I started saying that, I believe, and I don't think I finished my thought. You can get some little rocks, little pebbles, marbles, whatever you want to use, and stuff them in there to give it some weight so it's not so easy to topple over. So anyway, also I'm going to take some of the bits of styrofoam that I shaved off of the side, and I'm going to stuff them, you know, a little tight into the little edges here where the styrofoam and the side of the pumpkin are. And I'm just going to stick it in several little spots. I'm not going to stick it everywhere. I'm not even going to show that, but just to let you know that that's what I'm going to do. And the reason I'm going to do that is just to keep maybe this piece here. It's not really moving around anymore now that the glue is dried. It was a little wobbly in there, but now I feel like it's a little bit firmer. But anyway, that's what I'm going to do, so that just so you know. And then we'll be right back. All right, so my next step is to put some moss in there so that we don't see the styrofoam. And I'm just going to put it kind of loosely. What I do is I just break it up a little bit like that, and I want that so that whenever I stick a stem or any stick in there, it doesn't get stopped by the moss. Otherwise, you're there digging and trying to find a little spot. So just kind of loosely put it, and then I'm going to use these greenery pins, and this will hold it down so that it doesn't pop out. Okay, so I have that nautical rope, and I had the idea that I would like to put it on the edge here, and maybe around the edge of my little lid, just to kind of decorate it a little bit. So I'm going to see how that looks, so let's be back for that. Alright, so I'm just going to take my hot glue gun and put this around the edge like so. See how that'll look? So let's get started on that. Alright, so I'm coming around to the other end here. So I'm just going to look there and see where I should cut this. Trim that off. And finish it off with some more glue, and then I'm going to put glue on the little tip here of this other little rope end, so when I bring this one over, I can butt the two ends, the two end bits of the rope together. Get that on there, and then I'll remove all the little glue webs, but this is what I want, this little look right there, just to give it a little bit of a finished look. Okay, so I want to do that to the edge over here. I think it'll look nice, so I'm just moving in all the Spanish moss inside, but then I can bring it out a little bit because I do want some of it to kind of like, you know, spill out of my pumpkin. So I'm going to start over here. Let's see, these are my creases right here, and I kind of want them on the sides. I think I'm going to want my hat to be something like that. I want to make sure that where I glued the ends together to be facing down. So I think I'm going to start with my rope right around here, so that when I butt the ends together, they'll be on the back part. Of course, you want to look at your pumpkin and look at it and say, oh, which is a prettier side? And they both are equally as pretty. Okay, so I'll continue putting this, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm gonna let that dry, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna pull out a little bit of the moss, so it's like it's spilling out of my pumpkin. As a matter of fact, I can even add a little bit more so that I can have some coming down the sides, but I'll do that in a moment. And this is my back, and this is my front right here. That's what that little trimmed edge looks like. All right. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to prop up this little lid off to the side like that. Maybe show forward a little bit more like so. So in order to do that, I need to put a little stick on it so that I can go ahead and insert that in there. So I'm going to take one of these, and let's see how that would fit. Kind of at an angle in here, push it in a little bit. There's a little bit of the pumpkin is made of styrofoam, so I'm going to push that into the lid just a little bit, into the kind of the meatier part of it. Just kind of make a little bit of a hole, and then put some glue in there. So we can put our stick in there. You can use like a real thin dowel sticks, or even like the type that you use like to make kebabs. What are those little sticks called? I can't even think right now. Skewers. Okay, so now I'm just going to compare it and decide that I need about so much of the stick to kind of stick into the styrofoam. And let's see if I put it at the right angle. I might have to change that. Okay, let's take that off. I think it needs to be a little more angled, like so. Okay, now like I said, we're going to put this into the styrofoam. This is the the side here. And I want it to face forward a little bit. So I'm gonna put it like that. There, that's nice. So just place it wherever you like it. And I'm placing it like that because I don't want to see, you know, this part of it. So the rest of this is going to be filled with, you know, the other items that I have, like the bow and the little pumpkins. And then of course at the very end I'm going to put my flowers. So I want to put my little items in there first so that I know that where to put my flowers, so nothing is on top of some other item. Okay, so I said that I wanted to maybe put some more moss to kind of spill out. So I want some right in here. And what I can do here so it doesn't move is just put a little bit of glue. Kind of spilling out here on the side here, and maybe some on the other side over here. Let's see, this is going to be like so. So this is the front right there. Okay, now I want to put a bow in there. So I've got this nice little ribbon, but I don't want to make it like a really big bow because I don't want it to cover up everything. So I'm just going to make like a double looped, just a regular bow. And I want it to have a little tail coming off like that. So I'll measure right there, and just 2 loops. And not very big ones actually. Okay, and then another kind of long tail. And that is why I wanted my chenille stem. So I can take that, wrap it around. Okay. So now if this styrofoam that's in there were kind of leveled with this, all I could do is use a greenery pin and just wrap it around, you know, the chenille stem around that. And then I would have that little greenery pin stuck on there, and then I could just stick it into the styrofoam. But the styrofoam's kind of deep in there, so if I do that, it's going to push my bow way in there. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to take another piece of stick, the one that I cut off from this other piece over here, and just wrap it around the stick there. And then you could just trim off the excess wire or chenille stem, whatever you use. You could add a little bit of glue there just to make sure it doesn't, you know, move around and pop off. Okay, and now we don't need it to be that long, so I'm just going to compare it, cut it right about there, and then just put your bow wherever you want. Okay, let me turn it around so I'm looking at the front of it, and then I can decide where I want my bow. Kind of want it off to the side, so I'm going to put a little bit of glue on there, move the moss around a little bit. There we go. Cover back up with some moss like that, and then we can poof up our little bow and bend our little tails however we want. There we go. That's how that looks. And I've got a couple of pumpkins or gourds. Maybe I'm just going to use one, and I think I'm going to use it right up here in the front. So the same way that I did the lid, where I stuck a stick in there. Let's see, this little stick that I still have left over is enough. So one of these long bits work for three pieces. So here we go. This one, stick it right in there because it's styrofoam. Just poke it right in, get some glue in there, put your stick back in there. Go like that. A little bit of glue on there. Move the moss around, and I'm going to stick it kind of at an angle there. Fix my bow because I swished it. Okay, so that's what that's looking like. All right, so let me get my flowers now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut them at the longest point of, you know, each stem. Just cut them there, and then I'll decide if I need to cut them any more once I get them on my arrangement. But for now, I'm going to cut them up. I'm going to cut a few of these and also some of the fern leaves, and then I'll be back so I can show you the rest of the project so we can finish it off. Okay, so I'm going to use these sunflowers right here as my focal point. So the main flower of my arrangement. I'm just going to move it over a little bit. And I'm going to take the longest one, which I think is this one. I know I don't need this leaf at the very bottom, so I'm going to trim that off. And I'm going to compare it to my pumpkin here and decide what height I want it to be. So I'm just comparing it right like that against it. I think I like this height, and I'm going to bend this forward just a little bit. Now I want this to be a centerpiece, so I'm going to have the other flowers facing other directions. But this one is going to be facing, you know, the main area here, which is what I'm considering the front. So if you wanted to put this up, like say on a little counter, a little little table or something where there's a wall behind it, then you just make everything face the front and the sides over here. But if it's a centerpiece, make sure you have some that are facing the back, okay? So anyway, here we go. Or it just doesn't have to have a back. It could just be all, you know, fronts. All right, so I've cut that to a certain point, and I can stick that in there. Make sure no moss is in the way. And there we go. I like that height. I don't want it any higher than that because, like I said, it's a centerpiece. And a rule of thumb with a centerpiece is if you're going to leave it on the table and people are going to sit on it, you don't want it to be too high that it's blocking somebody else's face. You want it to be really low so you can still look across over it and see the people around you. So this should actually be a little bit lower, but because we don't actually sit here on the table with the centerpiece, it's just my husband and I, it's not going to be in our way. So this is how I'm doing it. It's going to be just decorative on my table. You can move it out of the way. Anyway, let's continue on. I'm going to take another flower and create like a triangle of heights here, 2 at the same level, and then this was the tallest one. So I'm going to put this one kind of peeking out the back of the lid here. Trim a little bit more. It's a little high. I might have to trim off that leaf. We'll see. Just push it in there. Nope, that's fine. So this one's kind of peeking behind this lid here, like that. And then I want the other one facing this way over here. So first I got to decide about where I want to cut it, which is right about here. And then I'm going to have to trim off that little leaf because it is going to be in my way. Get that off of there. Again, bend it a little bit. Bit of glue there. Put my little spot there where I'm going to stick it in. Right there. Fix the moss to make sure you don't push it too much out of the way. And this is what it's looking like so far. So now what we want to do is we want to fill in between so that way we have our greenery. And I have the greenery that was on the same bush with these sunflowers. So I'm going to start with those as well. So I'm going to pick one to match the height of my sunflower and just a little bit taller. So I'm going to hold it again and just decide that, because remember when I put my styrofoam in there, it is not level with the top here. It's like about so low. So I have to keep in mind right here is where my styrofoam starts. So I have to cut my stem long enough to go into the styrofoam. Okay, so this is actually going to go a little bit higher. So I'm not even going to cut that one. I'm just going to use that height right behind or on the side of this flower. Just push that in. And if you have to bend it a little bit so that it's not like pushing the flower or crushing anything, you do that and then just turn it to face the way that you want it to. Okay, so that's what I've done. And then when you look at it from what would be the front, if I put it against the wall, there you go. This is sticking out right here really nicely. Okay, that's the front that I'm working with that you're looking at. Okay, so now the rest of these, I'm actually going to cut right above this little joint here so that I can have this as a usable stem and this as a usable stem with leaves. And these can go down at the bottom to fill in anywhere where I feel like I need to hide, you know, some where I can see in there and see the either styrofoam if I didn't use moss, or like I have my little lid here and I don't want to see that white foam of the back of the lid of my pumpkin, and I will put some leaves there. So that's all I'm going to do is I'm going to take these and fill in those spots. So I shall be back once all of that is done. Okay, so I'm looking at my arrangement and I'm looking at this side here and I can see this lid right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a leaf and I'm actually going to just hot glue it onto the inside of my little pumpkin lid here so that I can cover that white styrofoam, and if I need more to hide, I have more leaves here. So I'm just pushing things out of the way so I can glue this right there. Actually, I do need another one, and I'm just going to cut off this little bit over here. Cover. It's not perfectly covering, but at least it covers enough where it doesn't bother me anymore, because it was bothering me a little bit. I'm going to take this one out and reinsert it. The leaves from that can cover a little bit on that edge there. So there we go. If you feel like you want to cover it up more than I did, then, you know, maneuver that so you can do that. Actually, maybe even before you actually put the lid in there, maybe you want to cover it up with either moss or, like I said, some of these little leaves. Okay, I think I've got enough of that, because I do want to add, excuse me, I do want to add these ferns, and then I also have these cream floral. So at this point, let's see, I have more of these that were on the bush, these stems right here. At this point, you can decide that I've got enough on there. I don't need to put any more, maybe just one more leaf to fill in this little area right here. You want to add a little bit more, and then that's it, and you can stop and just, you know, fix up your little bow, of course, and then just say, this is it, my arrangement is pretty enough as it is, or you could add more to it, which is, I'm going to do that. So I'm going to reserve these to the side, and then I'm going to look at these, and I still have my stems here, which I might have to use to make these longer. And I need some, actually I need some greenery tape, which I didn't show you at the beginning because I didn't know if I was going to use it or not, but I'm feeling like I am going to need to use it because some of these stems here are not long enough to go into my arrangement and into the styrofoam. But I'm going to go and try this one and see how far that goes. And I'm poking right here, right in front here, just feeling in there for the styrofoam. And then you can stick that right in there. See, I didn't have to add anything to that one, so that one is fine. Just put it right there, and it's not too tall. Fix this leaf here. Actually, this little stem is missing something, so I'm going to take this little berry cluster from this one and glue it. A little glue in there. I'm going to stick it to this because there's something missing off that little stem that I stuck in there. Okay, now it feels or looks a little more finished. So there we go. Okay. All right, so let me go ahead and get some floral tape so I can show you what I was talking about in case you didn't understand me. And I'll be back. All right, so I'm back with some floral tape. This is what it looks like. Another thing I noticed that when I was pushing things in, that I was pushing my lid in a little bit, and then I was starting to not look right to me. So all I did was just kind of twist it back the way that I wanted because it was way too forward, and I didn't want that. So there we go. That looks a little bit nicer. And it doesn't look so flat in that little area right there. Looks a little bit better. Also, it hides a little more of the back of it here because it's pushed more against this flower here than it was, you know, up against what is the front. Okay, so that gets in the way. Okay, so let me show you what I'm gonna do with the tape. Let's see, let's take a little stem here, like this one, for example. Let's say I want this one to stick up really high in my arrangement. But obviously the stem is not long enough to actually go in. I'm going to be putting it in the middle, but I'm putting it against the front so you can see what I'm talking about. So if I was to, again, the styrofoam is right here, and if I was to stick that in there, I would have to stick it in this far to have at least that much of the stem in the styrofoam. But look at the height, that's not enough. So what I need to do is I need to get a little stick, or I can use, you know, like like if I had a piece of, here's one. Let's use that, because we could use the wood stick and cut it to the length that we need, or we can use these little leftover stems that we cut off of other flowers and leaves. And let me trim off this little piece here so it's not in the way. There we go. That's where a little leaf was. Okay, so I'm just going to put it up against it like that to add length to it, and that's where I'm going to use the floral tape to wrap around. Now, if you haven't used floral tape, or if you tried using it and it just didn't work for you, the problem may have been, and if you haven't used it before, this is what you do. When you get it on there, you pull on it just slightly. What you're doing is you're stretching the tape, and that releases the bit of adhesive that's in the tape so that it actually tapes. Otherwise, it's just a little paper that you're just wrapping around loosely, and it's not ever going to stick, and it's not going to be tight and stick to itself. So you need to pull on it as you're wrapping it around your item. And also what I do is I also kind of press it like that to make sure that everything is sticking down. Just cut it off like that, and there we go. We have a wrapped piece of stem there. I mean, I don't need to wrap it all the way down. This is all going to be hidden away, but if you wanted to wrap it all the way down, you can. But that would just be a waste of greenery tape, which just fell on the floor. Okay, so now I have this nice tall piece that I can now add back here somewhere, so it gives it a little bit more height, and it gives a little bit of this, you know, cream highlight up here. It's not enough, so I feel like I need more of that. So I'm going to go ahead and add another little piece onto here. I need to grab my greenery tape that fell on the floor. I'm going to grab this little stem here and add to it like that, and then just wrap it around so I have a stem like that, and stick it back here. So I shall be back once I've added enough of this as well, and I'm gonna think about adding the fern now because it's getting really full, And like I said, I could just add more of the same bits that were already on the sunflower, and maybe I don't have need to use my fern. Okay, so I'll be back. All right, so I have gone ahead and I made a decision that I do want to use some fern leaves in my arrangement here. And I've actually already prepared a couple here. I'm about to prepare another one, but then I realized I'm not showing you what I'm doing. So I take a fern leaf like that, and you'll notice it has, you know, you have to cut it right here because this is where it's attached to the bush, and there's not really much of a stem there. So what I do is I trim off these bottom bits here with my scissors. So I was just going along the edge of the plastic and just trimming them off, and about to finish this one here. So now I have this nice longer stem. So if this was long enough to go into my arrangement, I could just stick it in there like that, but they weren't. So I went ahead and I put some little sticks on them, and I have another piece here. So I'm only going to use 3 of these fern leaves, and I'm going to go ahead and take this last one, just like I did the other piece of greenery, or you know, fall leaves and so forth. Okay, so just wrap it around, and then I can just trim the stick to whatever length I need. And I kind of want these kind of, you know, kind of floating off the sides of my arrangement. So these have a little bit of bend to them. That's nice. I'm going to put this bigger one back here, and then I'll add the shorter ones kind of in the side and the front there. So I'm deciding that I want it to be about that long, so I'm going to trim it long enough just to go into the styrofoam. And I'll stick that right in there, put a little bit of glue. Now, I normally put glue before I stick everything into my arrangements. If you don't want to do that, then you can be able to pull out everything out, and if you had a just regular vase that you're putting this in and you wanted to reuse the vase for spring, summer, and so forth, then you know, don't glue your items into the styrofoam, just poke them in. But this is going to stay in there. I'm just going to store it away like that. So I'm gluing everything in there. Okay, so now I'm going to come back with another little bit of this fall leaves to cover right here, so I don't see the stem right here of my fern as I stuck it in there, but I want that like so. And then this one, and just keep in mind there's a front and a back. You see all the plastic in the back here, and the front is covered, so you want to make sure you curve it in the right direction. So this one, I'm going to have it kind of popping out the front here. A little glue there. Most of the time I just stick them in there. I like to use glue if it's something like this, it's just going to stay like that, but most of the time I would rather not have to put any glue and just stick them in there. Okay, that's nice. And one on this side. So I'll curve it a little bit, kind of manipulate it a little bit. Yeah, maybe I think the stem might be too long. Let me trim a little bit because I want it to go in pretty far in. I could have some ferns kind of coming out the top, but like I said, this is going to be in the center of my table, and I don't really want it to be that high. I have a little table, so I don't need my arrangement to be that high. I want them to droop just down the sides. Okay. And then just one last bit, like I said, one last bit of fall leaves here. I just call this all greenery, even though it's not green, it's orange and browns or whatever, but it's still, you know, when it's sold in the stores, it's called greenery. So there we go. Okay, so that little bit that I've stuck in here, that just covers up the bottom of this fern here, covers up the tape and a bit of the stick there. So let's put it right here. Twirl it around so you can see. I don't know why I wasn't twirling it around instead of picking it up and turning it. So there we go. I think it looks absolutely fabulous. All right, everyone, so I have finished my floral arrangement. I think it looks really nice, and I'm happy with it. I hope that you have enjoyed watching me create this. I used a few items, little bits of pieces from leftover items, and I think it came out really great. I was going to be making this in a regular bucket that I had, and I thought I was going to make a cute little arrangement. Then I was staring at my pumpkin, which I already had on my table here, and I said, wait a minute, that's a carvable pumpkin. I can just turn that into a container. And it's been done before, and so I hope that you did enjoy this. So I'm going to give myself a big old thumbs up, and I hope that you too will give me a big old thumbs up. So please leave a nice comment down below and let me know what you think. Are you going to create something like this? Does this give you any inspiration for any other thoughts and ideas? This would be great with a little bird in there also as well. So there we go. Or if you want to put a little pig with a little scarecrow here, that would be fantastic. But I probably want to put it maybe on a counter so that it's not too tall for the center of a table. And I think it works perfectly fine for my little table. My husband and I will sit next to each other. We'll be actually like this, so that this won't be in the way. So you can think about it how, you know, how high you want it, or maybe it's just something that you're just going to move out of the way while people sit down. Okay, there we go. Thank you everybody for subscribing, and if you haven't done so, please hit that red subscribe button, and then you'll see a little bell right next to it. Go ahead and click on that too. That'll notify you of when I load up videos, which is twice a week, or at least I try to have it twice a week. So that's it. Please share on your social medias. Be kind, respectful towards each other. Spread the love, everyone. Please spread the love at this time, and as always, enjoy.